What's up, real MVPs? Ricky Widmer here, and welcome back to another edition of MVP Games Live right here on either twitch.tv or you're watching it on YouTube. I am joined, as I always am, with my beautiful co-host, Soapy Muffin.
Hey.
Soapy, how are you doing today? And that's what I want to know. Today's been a rough day for a lot of people, a very stressful day for a lot of people. Maybe had a stressful night last night, but how are you doing this November 4th, the day after Election Day?
I'm doing pretty good.
Soapy's like, I don't know, I feel good. My state actually did what they were supposed to do as of right now. But we're not here to talk about that. How was work today? That's usually what I get the update from Soaps, is how was work today?
It's pretty good. I didn't really do anything all day. I just kind of kept like zoning in and out the whole time.
It wasn't a day like yesterday where it's like, oh shit, I actually got shit I can vacuum today and eat up some time.
No, it was more or less there wasn't really much to do, but I didn't get much done because I just kept zoning in and out the whole time.
Soapy's like, I don't want to be here. I just want to go play Minecraft and chop down some trees, man.
I mean, it was actually at that point I was like, I just want to go curl up in a ball and sleep.
That too. But we're actually going to talk about Minecraft today. There is a story about Minecraft that we're going to look at in Shorty But a Goodie. We got some other great topics for you guys today, but before we get into all of that, make sure to join the Discord. Let's do that housekeeping. Discord, link down below if you're on YouTube, !Discord. If you are in Twitch, gets you into the best community on the internet. That's what I'm going to call it. The best community on the internet. There it is. I'm saying it. Self-approved by Ricky Widmer. It's got that Ricky Widmer stamp of approval. Also, if you like the show, want to support us, check out patreon.com/MVPvids. But you can also support us by throwing us a sub on Twitch, where we are live every Monday through Friday, twitch.tv/MVPvids. And we're also on YouTube at MVP Entertainment as well. But Soaps, the first thing we're talking about today, we got some Medium coverage today. We've got some Bethesda coverage, a little bit of Minecraft, a little bit of Assassin's Creed. And we're starting with a game called The Medium that you and I believe the first time we saw footage for this game, it was at the Xbox showcase that both you and I watched and did a practice show for way back when we were like, oh, we want to do this show. Let's do a practice run. The Unseen episode of MVP Games Live. That's where we first saw The Medium, a cool game where, in my mind, it's cool because it's like you're a medium and you can see between two sides of a world, a very dark world, and then the normal world. Well, there's been an update to this story, but I want to go ahead and read it anyways. Here's the update to it. So the article's from PC Gamer. It says the medium has been refused classification in Australia. And I'll just read the update because obviously it would make sense to read the update and not the actual article if they've changed things. But it says the Australian Classification Board has sent through a statement regarding the medium's banning in Australia. It doesn't shine light on the reasons for the ban on a content level, but it does confirm that Blooper's team IARC submission breaks an unspecified rule. The Australian Classification Board itself has not received an application for the game. Here's a full statement. On July 6th, 2020, the IARC, the International Age Rating Coalition, tool classified the Medium RC refused classification. The tool has generated a refused classification discussion in accordance with Australia's classifications criteria from input questionnaire responses submitted by the developer. As a November 4th, 2020, the classification board has not received any application for the game by the title The Medium. If the developer decides to alter the game, they can use the tool to classify a modded version of the game, and a new classification will be generated. It says, in other words, the only recourse Blooper team has is to address the offending material, i.e. a patch it for Australian audiences before submitting it for reclassification. Soapy, this has gone from the original article is basically that there's something where it's like something in the game that is different in one country. It could be seen different in another country. My question for you is just the point of, should this be... I know countries are going to have their own way of doing things, and they're going to have their own, like, some say this is okay, some say that's okay for this, like the article says. We don't have a reason for what this is. They didn't give a reason. The question I want to ask you is, should there be a just general worldwide gaming thing to where it's like, so people don't have to, developers don't have to make their game one way for like in Australia and another way for the rest of the world, or like one way for Germany and one way for the rest of the world?
I mean, that'd be the ideal world, but that will just never happen. And the reason it'll never happen is, for instance, it's kind of taking it away from the medium, but with one of the Borderlands 3 DLCs that talked about gay marriage, that DLC is banned in the Middle East.
Yeah.
And there is no way in hell that thing will ever be allowed to be played there.
Yeah, good point.
Like, it's one of those things that there are certain things that, and like you said, other countries are going to view things differently. Like, for instance, Manhunt is banned basically fucking everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, the places that's not banned, it's just A-okay with them. Like, it sucks that people in Australia aren't going to be able to play the medium. But at the same time, it's also something along the lines of, like, this type of stuff happens. Yeah. I think South Park Stick of Truth, got banned, I think. There was one game that got banned that the whole time I was like, that's just dumb that it didn't get allowed.
Stick of Truth. Yeah, so it was censored in Europe. Stick of Truth was.
Yeah.
And that was
obviously
6 years ago.
Yeah, and obviously that was mostly because South Park is a show meant to offend people, but that's besides the point.
Well, and go ahead, finish your thought, and then I'll jump in.
I don't know, I was just going to say that it's one of those things of, obviously, cultural differences and everything of, like, how we view stuff. Like, for instance, in America, we view the C word as, the C word.
Yeah.
Like, you don't say it, but in Australia, like, it's just flung around. Obviously, I know there may be some people out there that are like, oh, not everyone uses it like that, but, it happens.
Yeah. I mean, for example, this guy brings up in Twitch chat, well, they have to make games differently, like for Germany, such as Wolfenstein, as any Nazi references have been removed, as it's illegal in Germany for those references to be made. Like, I know that, the No Russian mission. Wasn't that...
Yeah, it was banned basically everywhere.
Yeah, where it was in the U.S., we had it. Later, it was patched out. Like, the game, like, if you played a original version of the game, you still had it. But otherwise, it was like, well, that got taken out of the game. And the thing is, like, the thing that's important here, and this guy even mentions it, is in the title, yes, being a little bit clickbaity, I will admit. But... the thing is, the medium has a chance to not be banned in Australia, where basically all they have to do is, like I read in the article, patch in what you need to do and fix it, and then boom, you can be in. To me, I look at it and I go, maybe it's because I see video games as more of like an art form in a sense, because the dev team that's behind it, they're putting their all into it, and they're putting their own vision into this game. It's much like any filmmaker that you see in Hollywood and stuff, where, like, for example, I think of it like Kevin Feige with Marvel. Kevin Feige he built his MCU, or Disney's MCU, through his image, and that's kind of like his masterpiece. Well, gaming to me is the same way. Much like a painter would paint a picture or a filmmaker would make a movie, these devs are making a game. And for me, it's like, I get the point where countries are different. Like you mentioned, some countries just have different norms than other countries. And that's just something that I don't think we'll ever get through. Like, for example, China, compared to most of the rest of the world, is pretty much a unique case of, like, they're not as open, like, I know internet-wise, not as open like the rest of the world. So it's like, yes, there's going to be hurdles you have to jump through. I just look at it, and if it's something like something in the game was too violent, I mean, maybe it's my brain going, well, how is it not too violent for like a Europe, or not too violent for like in America, but it's too violent for like in Australia in this circumstance? And I'm only going with the violence thing because that was cited in Twitch chat and also cited in the article of like that's what it could be. But at the end of the day, we don't know what the exact reason is. Maybe with me, it's like, should we have come, see, like even saying it, I'm like, should we come together as a world to make sure? It's like, yeah, but that's way too, like you mentioned, it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen.
Yeah, and then also with the movie thing, there's movies that are banned in other countries.
Yep.
Like,
or
for
like
instance,
in
like
China.
the movie Hostel.
Yep.
Like, Hostel's banned basically everywhere.
Yeah. Or like
besides like a select few places.
Or like how like Marvel movies have had to change scenes or cut out scenes when they go to China because like it doesn't fit with a rule that China has. And it's like, I don't know. I just saw this and it was like, I first thought, I wonder what this means. A little bit of a selfish thought, maybe. I was like, ooh, what does that mean for the game for me? Like, being in America, like, if it's something with violence, am I going to get something that is maybe creepier, more graphic, more violent than somebody who, like, lives in Australia? Because that's where the game is being restricted right now. Like, that's the last thing I'll ask you, Soapy, is for someone who lives in North America where we are, what do you think this means for the medium? Should they expect something that's maybe fucking super creepy and violent, and kind of like, if you love that game, you're like sitting there going, fuck yeah, that's what I want?
Yeah, I mean, we could be expecting something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's one of those things, like, kind of dealing with paranormal stuff is already going to kind of creep people out anyways.
Yeah.
Mostly because it's one of those things that I think it's actually a phobia.
Yeah.
I think.
What?
Is there a phobia of like the undead and stuff like that?
I mean, you could have a phobia for anything.
Yeah, but I mean, I think this. I don't want to say phasmophobia, but I think that's just what the game is called.
Yeah. And this guy, like I said, like, not saying for sure it was banned on violence. I'm just using that as like an example because, like, the article says it was like, oh, it was refused classification for breaking a rule, but yet again, we don't know what that rule is. I just threw out violence because this is a game, from what I've seen, has a very creepy side, has a very dark side, could have that violence side to it. But Soapy, any final thoughts on this before we move on?
I mean, I hope it gets classification to be able to go to Australia. You know, I feel like people should be able to play the game, and you know, it's hopefully it gets through.
Yeah. Next thing we're talking about, Soapy, is a game that we first found out about in the year of 2018. So this is a Bethesda game. It is called Starfield. And recently there's been 2 articles posted about it. So if you're sitting there going, what the fuck is Starfield? Well, Starfield was a game that Bethesda had an announcement trailer for, like I said, back in 2018, nearly 2 years ago. And yes, don't know back then when they were expecting this to come out. COVID might have bumped everything back a little bit. But we have 2 articles, Soapy, that kind of give us a hint recently this week to what we can be expecting from Starfield. So Starfield's going to be Bethesda's next open world RPG game. That's what it is. And the first one comes from Polygon. It says Starfield's game engine will be a leap forward, Bethesda says. Starfield, Bethesda Softworks' next big role-playing game, will be powered by an overhauled creation engine whose capabilities will be a larger leap forward than the one seen in 2002's Elder Scrolls III Morrowind on Xbox, to 2006 Elder Scrolls III Oblivion on Xbox 360, according to Bethesda Game Studios creative director Todd Howard. In a keynote appearance for the Develop Brightened Online conference, Howard added that the sci-fi RPG will rely more on procedural generation than past Bethesda titles did. He begins talking about Starfield. That's for the video. I ain't gonna fucking put the video. He said, from rendering to animation to patching to procedural generation, I don't want to say everything, but it's a significant overhaul, Howard told host James Batcher of GameIndustry.biz. It's taken us longer than we would have liked, but it's going to power everything we're doing with Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6. When people see the result, they'll hopefully be as happy as we are with what's on the screen, and also how we can go. I clicked something on an ad. How we can go about making our games. There's another article, Soapy, from PC Gamer from the same talk. Todd Howard talked about the map for Starfield, and it says, during the same interview that I talked about, Todd Howard shared some more info on the eagerly awaited space RPG Starfield. Going down, I want to get to the point where he's talking about the map. Starfield will be a single player only with no multiplayer component planned. And thanks to Microsoft's acquisition of Bethesda, both Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6 will be available on Game Pass at launch. And apparently that the map for it will be the biggest that Bethesda has ever seen. Soapy, what are your thoughts? And what are your expectations, I should say, for a game like Starfield, which I'm going to say Bethesda's kind of talking up right now. Like, this is kind of a big thing to get people hyped to where if they don't hit on it, this could be a big miss.
Yeah, I just want to point out that one. I wrote it in the chat, and I'm going to do it now. Can we fucking move on from this engine? Ricky, this engine is old enough to legally drink.
Yeah,
this thing has been around since the 90s.
Are you talking about the engine as a whole, or are you talking about the one that they used in 2006?
The fucking most recent one too. Fallout 76 is on the same engine that Morrowind is on.
Okay.
Fucking Daggerfall is on the same goddamn engine.
So what you're saying...
Daggerfall came out in the 90s.
So what you're saying
The engine is older than me.
So what you're saying is, I'm not hyped for the talk-up of this engine because the engine as a fundamental has been around since the 90s.
Yeah, it's almost like every time when Bethesda starts hyping up this engine, notice it got hyped up for Skyrim, buggy mess. Got hyped up for Fallout 4, buggy mess. Hyped up for 76, even buggier mess. Upgrade your fucking engine. Stop using the creative engine. Stop fucking being like, oh, we've made improvements to the system. There are glitches from the 90s that are still on that fucking engine. How about you use Daddy Warbucks' fucking money? You know, basically your new dad.
Yeah.
That bought you Microsoft. How about you use some of their money to get a new engine? How about you do that? Don't just fucking use the same one from the 90s because it's cheaper.
Yeah.
If your main complaint about in every single game is this is a buggy fucking mess and you need mods, how about you stop using the thing that makes it a buggy fucking mess?
Yeah. And that's why with Starfield, like, I didn't go in my mind exactly how you did. Because, like, Elder Scrolls, everything, like, even Fallout, like, you've been more the Bethesda guy than I have. And the thing that I thought of is I'm like, damn, just by reading the comments, I'm like, damn, you're fucking hyping this up, brah. Like, you are really hyping this up to where this has been, like, and this just is a generalization, too, of if you're going to hype up a video game, of the fact of, if it's been 2 years since you've announced the game, we haven't heard much about it, now you're going to come out and say this stuff, so fans of Bethesda were probably really hyped when they saw the announcement trailer. Holy shit, new single-player RPG from Bethesda, I'm all in. Because, you know, it's the Bethesda fan base. Like, you're going to be excited for a game from the base that you like. So they're probably excited about it. Now they're waiting 2 years, and now you drop this nugget on them to where I'm like, okay, you're either Gonna hype them up. It's gonna hit. And we're not questioning anything. But what we've seen, and I'm looking at the track record from Bethesda, you brought it up, especially like you bring up Fallout 76. I don't have to talk about how much of a mess that was. We did that enough when we used to do Too Old the Game. But I look at it and I go, I kind of have a feeling with your track record, you're going to hype this up. People are going to get an expectation that they should not have. Boom. It doesn't hit the mark, and then people are upset. And there's a part of me that goes, Bethesda cannot afford for Starfield to be a Fallout 76 2.0 kind of a situation.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why they have to put their all into this game.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things that people have always had the opinion that Bethesda games themselves, like, the stories are okay. Like, it's the thing that makes it funny is the wackiness and the availability of mods.
Yeah.
Now, with console, obviously, once again, we don't know if Starfield's going to have mod support. It probably will, because Bethesda likes the modding community to fix the game for them. Sorry, if you can't tell, I'm totally not jaded at all.
No, not at all. Why would you be jaded, my guy?
Yeah, why would I be jaded since games since fucking Oblivion have literally been the exact same of buggy messes, and then the community is the one who fixes it.
Yeah. I mean, it shouldn't be like that, though. Like, the dev should be the one to fix the game, not the community.
Yeah. And once again, it's one of those things of, like, I don't want the game to be bad. I want Bethesda games to be good.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they kind of are starting to rest on their laurels a little bit.
Okay.
Of where they're like, oh, we're Bethesda. People are going to love our game. It's like, well, you said the same thing about 76, and that game sucked ass.
Yeah, I mean, there's people now that tell me, oh, it's better than what it was.
To be fair, it actually is better than what it was.
Yeah, but
it actually somewhat works now.
But once you lose the base, like people, like we talked about with Avengers, you lose that base, those people probably aren't coming back.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying people are coming back.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's not as bad of a game. It's still bad.
Good point.
But it's not as bad.
Yeah, good point.
Like, it's one of those things that, and I think also with it as well, like, obviously Fallout 4 is more of like I don't want to say controversial, because that one's kind of divisive between the fan base. Like,
yeah.
Like, older Fallout fans didn't care for it so much because there's a lot of, like, stuff that messes up, like, the lore and stuff like that. But then, like, newer fans of Bethesda games are like, oh, like, it's a good game. And, like, and I'm going to say, it's not a bad game. It's a bad Fallout game. That's besides the point.
Okay. There's a difference.
Yeah. And it's one of those things that I hope to God that Bethesda learns from mistakes they've made of they're not going to get the pass of being allowed to half-ass their games anymore. Because if you rely on your modding community to fix the game once again, you're losing so many people.
Yeah.
That like already don't like the fact that the community has to fix the game for you. Because I always have said before, you know, when people bring up Skyrim's lifespan, it's like you take modding away from it, the game's dead. Like, you can only do so much in Skyrim before it gets boring. Then mods is what adds the lifespan to it.
And, like, that's the thing where it's like, I feel like with Bethesda games, and, like, one like this. So, I look at the engine in its name, the creation engine. Like, it's one of those where it's like, you should have modding. Because if you have a creation engine, you want people to create and everything. But, like, there's a part of me that thinks a game like Starfield, which, from what we've seen, all we know is that it's going to take place in space. And first off, it should have the biggest map of any Bethesda game, because space is what, Soapy? Fucking infinite. There's no boundary on fucking space. So yes, it should be the biggest map that we've seen in a Bethesda RPG game. But then also I think of it, it's like, if you're going to make the game in space, you have to have that modding in there, because of all the creation and the imagination and everything that we can see with things you can make in space that is basically the unknown to us, because we don't live in space. We live here on Earth.
Yeah. And also the whole thing with the map being the largest ever. Congratulations, you can make a big map. How are you going to fill that map out?
Yeah.
Are there going to be things that players can explore in between? Because obviously, since it's a game about being in space, there's probably planets you can go to.
Yeah, but it's like, what's going to be while you're traveling between planet to planet? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And like that's the thing. It's like, is this just going to turn out to be a really shitty Star Citizen?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing that I'm worried of.
Yeah.
Like, yes, you can have the largest map ever, because I think it was it's either Fallout 4 or one of Skyrim's DLCs before they claimed to have the largest thing.
Mm-hmm.
And or at least with the Skyrim DLC, because I know at one point they claimed that.
Yeah.
There was nothing to do in between the areas.
Mm-hmm.
Like the map was big.
Yeah.
But there was nothing to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, congratulations, I can climb up to the top of a mountain and not do anything.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, and it's a worry that I would have with, like, great, you have a big map. Now, what are you going to do with the rest of it? Because, like you said, you got to have shit to do in the game. So, like, for me, I don't know how I feel about this. Like, I think the one takeaway I'm going to take away from it is, great, you hyped up this game. Now let's see if you're going to live up to that hype or if you're not going to live up to hype. That's kind of where I'm at with the Starfield Bethesda thing. Any final thoughts from you before we move on?
I mean, my expectation for it is I expect it to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't... Like, once again, it's like I said, my expectations of Bethesda games have fallen so much.
Yeah.
That it's like, literally the last game they put out, Doom, was like the best game they've put out since Skyrim.
You're talking about Doom Eternal, the newest one? Yeah.
I mean, fuck, even the Doom before Doom Eternal.
Good point.
Like, those are the only two good games they've put out since Skyrim. Because otherwise, Fallout 4 is eh.
Yeah.
76 is shit. It's like, you've missed literally on... And Elder Scrolls Online's okay.
Yeah.
I do want to specify that Elder Scrolls Online is okay.
Mm-hmm.
But for instance, like, you've missed on your own stuff that you own. Like, you missed on your own series.
Yeah.
But then you brought in another series and was good. I mean, obviously, also, technically, I think the Wolfenstein games came out after, so those are kind of okay.
Okay.
So it's one of those things, it's like, damn, it almost looks like Bethesda sucks at making their own titles now.
Which, why would we give you a third-party thing to do if you can't even make your own titles good?
Yeah.
Which you now have the possibility to because you're a Microsoft studio.
Sell the rights to Fallout to Obsidian. That's my only request. I don't give a fuck what you do with Elder Scrolls. Keep it. You made it in the first place. You can keep it. Yeah. Sell it back to Obsidian. I won't follow fucking New Orleans or whatever the fuck it's gonna be.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be interesting to what we get from Starfield and from Bethesda in the future because, like we even talked about in the past, they are now a Microsoft studio. But Soapy, the next thing we're gonna get into before Shorty But a Goodie, a little bit of Among Us news, and there's a small thing in here that piqued my interest. So this is from Polygon. It says a new patch for Among Us was released on Monday, adding some highly anticipated features like colorblind support for the wire fixing tasks. Now each side of the wires have a symbol so you know which end to line up, even if you have a hard time perusing colors. In addition to this, accessories like sticky notes that say dumb or fried eggs will show up in the discussion lobby rather than showing your plain crewmate. Room hosts are now able to toggle a new feature like anonymous voting, so people won't be able to tell who voted for who. There is also the ability to toggle how the taskbar moves rather than having it go up in real time as people do tasks. It can be changed to only go up after meetings or not to be shown at all. It's those last two that intrigue me, Soapy. The first one is anonymous voting, because to me, maybe someone's sitting there and going, well, yeah, you're making the imposter's job easier. But to me, I love the fact of anonymous voting, because there have been so many Among Us games I've watched to where it's like, oh, well, this person was the only one to vote for that person, so that's kind of fishy. Where with anonymous voting, you wouldn't know. You'd be like, oh, just some... Use the proper terminology here. It's sus. That's a little sus. A little sus. But basically, it's just I love that. I love not being able to know who voted for who. So it adds another conversation of like the next time, all right, who was the only one to vote for him? And then you don't have to say anything. Like, that's the thing of like, it adds another layer. And then on top of it, the taskbar thing, I kind of like that. I kind of like, the one that I like is not having it there at all, because then it adds a level of skill that you need. Some might say, well, Ricky, you're making it too easy for the imposter. And yes, some may say that. Some that are very elementary to the game. Without having a taskbar there, Soapy, it makes you focus on everything. So someone steps up to something, you basically have to remember, okay, how much time does it really take for you to do that before you can move on? And for an imposter, you have to really think, shit, how long do I have to stand here so that I do not look sus? Because most of the time I've seen they come up, okay, taskbar moves, and I leave, and nobody questions it. Like, these two abilities I love because they're adding a layer onto the game that makes it to where if you have if you're a really skilled Among Us player, you're going to thrive in games now. And I love it. Make people better. Don't dumb the game down to make it easier for most people.
Yeah, and I fully agree. I think it's one of those things where obviously I'd probably play with like it only moves after meetings.
Mm-hmm.
Because my whole thing with the taskbar is, or at least like the big group I play with,
mm-hmm.
half those people don't know how to do the fucking tasks. I'm going to be real with you.
See, but without it though, it adds the conversation of like, all right, well, I'm done with my tasks. Where is everyone at? Like, there's more of than a conversation on tasks because you don't know how many of them are done.
Well, yeah, I also don't want to have to sit here and fucking fight with people of seeing, like, oh, are the ghosts actually doing their tasks?
Yeah, good point, good point.
Like, that's the only problem. Like, that's the reason why I don't care for getting rid of the bar.
Yeah.
Because then, for instance, like, if a person who died isn't doing their tasks,
you can call it out.
The game's never going to end.
Yeah. Well, it'll end. It's just the imposters will most likely win.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. To where then it's literally a situation of, cool, we have to wait for the fucking ghost to do this shit. Like, that's the only reason why I'd keep the bar on.
Mm-hmm.
I love the anonymous voting thing.
Yep.
And it's mostly because it gets really fucking annoying when, like, someone just instantly votes right away. Because, like, for instance, there are some people that, like, just even without thinking, they'll sit there and just, like, rapidly vote.
Yeah.
To where then it's like, oh, okay, fuck, then, like, we have to at least choose another person, because that person could have just fucking, like, misclicked or something like that.
Yeah.
Or they could have sat there and meant to do something else, and now we have to decide, like, okay, we have to even out the vote, and stupid shit like that. And then you also get the people who are like, you voted pretty quick, that's sus, and you get those people. So that's one of those things of, I think it's going to really depend on, like, the group you're playing with.
Now, here's the question I have, and I don't mean to cut you off. Yet again, have not played. So if someone has played since Monday, go ahead and correct me in Twitch chat. The anonymous voting, do you think it takes off the I voted thing too?
I think so.
Because, like, that to me...
It'll still probably keep it.
Okay.
But it won't show you who they voted. Like, because once obviously all the votes have been cast.
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
because it's probably going to encourage people to vote earlier on.
Yeah. Well,
because the whole thing that happens with Among Us, where it's like, let's say you have a 10-person lobby and there's 2 imposters. It's by round 3 you have to start voting people out.
Well, yeah, I know
where
that.
With
but
this
like,
one, it could be you take more wild shots in like round 1.
Like, there's a part of me, should it be like where there's a part off to like the bottom right where it's like people who voted and like it keeps a tally mark or something to where it's like you're still keeping track of how many people have voted, but it adds on to that anonymous factor to where it's like, all right, I voted. You don't know who I voted for and you don't know when I voted, kind of a thing.
Yeah, and I almost kind of wish, and this is something that obviously they're probably not going to do. I wish imposters could see who they vote for.
What do you
mean?
Like
both imposters. Like, let's say we're playing a 10-person game.
In anonymous,
and me and you were the imposter.
Only the imposters can see who those 2 voted for?
Yeah.
Okay.
Over, like, they can basically coordinate, like, okay, we want to vote this person out.
Yeah. I mean...
Of where do something like that. Like, obviously, once again, that makes the imposter's job really easy.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where, like, it gets it to where then more people are doing the whole, like, oh, we have to basically, like, unify on a decision. Not just like, okay, let's just vote, like, randomly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean, that's just, I saw it, like I said, the anonymous voting is the thing that got my jimmies, like, now I shouldn't say jimmies in a bunch. It got me excited. Got me excited for Among Us, and I wish that more people in the Discord wanted to play. Because I fucking loved it when we did play the one time, and it was a great time when we did that. But Soapy, let's move on. Shorty but a goodie. We got 4. I'm adding a surprise one at the end, Soapy, because I saw something that piqued my interest. The first one is all for me, Soapy. There's one here that's all for me. There's one here that's all for you. This is from PC Gamer Online, or PCGamer.com. Blizzard is going to warn World of Warcraft multi-boxers, and then it's going to permaban them. Blizzard has used a policy update for input broadcasting software, which in English means we've had it with the multi-boxers. Multi-boxing is a technique any MMOG player will be familiar with, even if you haven't done it yourself. A big group of avatars running about like a hive mind under the control of a single player using third-party software. There are various reasons players multi-box depending on the game, but in World of Warcraft, it's usually for resource farming, gathering with 20 accounts and transferring everything to the main account. Or on occasion, a bit of good old player griefing. It can be funny to come across multi-boxers just because it's something you see, and there's no doubt it's unfair to other players. I've done multi-boxing before, but like my multi-boxing was like, okay, Dave wants me to level his character. I'm leveling my character. Okay, let me get on Dave's character, have him on follow of mine. And basically, while I do my quests, I'm doing the quests with Dave as well. And I'm leveling both characters at once. Soapy, my thought to you is, should you... Dave does want you to level his character. Soapy, my question to you is, should multi-boxing be banned? I mean, pretty much a dumb question in my mind, but the question comes up is, should multi-boxing be banned, or should Blizzard put a cap of like, well, if it's multi-boxing of like 20 accounts, that's one thing, but if it's like, hey, I'm helping my friend level, and I've got his account and my account, like, do you see any positive in multi-boxing?
I think it depends on the type of server you're on.
Okay.
I think if you're in a PvP server, it should definitely be a big no-no.
Okay.
But if you're on like a PvE where like there's no combat between anybody, sure, go ahead.
Yeah, it's just like, because like on the private servers, Dave and I saw it all the time. There's like this one guy had like 5 boomkins. It wasn't 20, 5 boomkins. And of course, Dave and I picked fights with him, and he beat us because there were 5-on-1. But it was just like, it was interesting because you could see the multi-boxers because it's just 5 or 6 of them just following one character.
Yeah, and obviously, once again, it's one of those things. I know there's people out there who are like, oh, well, you know, the still multi-boxing on like PvE servers is still cheating because they're getting the amount of resources you can't get.
Yeah.
Cry me a fucking river.
Yeah, that's one of like farming in general though. Like I've come up with the point of like when it's farming, you gotta basically find the time of like when people aren't on. Like when Dave and I were on the private server, because it was a European hosted server, I noticed that most of the people, when we were like middle of the day, were not on because that was night over there. So it's like you got to find your times on your server of like, okay, when's the population not going to be as much so that I can go out and farm things. But yeah, like multi-boxing is bad. I wanted to create a little bit of a discussion. Dave says, yeah, when it comes to not having counterplay and potentially ruining people's gameplay, shit gets old. This is surprising though. Blizzard takes a hit for the extra monthly fee for people with multiple accounts, and he makes sense. You got to make a multiple account. Like on the private server Dave and I played on, it was easy because they were free accounts. For Blizzard, it's a monthly account for every time you got to do that. So that's kind of, Dave brings up a point that I didn't think about, that they're basically saying we value your gameplay over more money in our pockets. But Soapy, the next shorty but a goodie we're looking at is Assassin's Creed Valhalla is going to have a celebrity cameo. Dodgers outfielder Cody Bellinger is playing a character in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. The Major League Baseball star did a motion capture, voice acting, and face modeling for Atta Sluggason, a character players can encounter on their journey through the game. Sluggason, I love that the guy's last name is Sluggason, because it's like Cody's a slugger in baseball, so it fits. He's described as a Dane with a knack for hitting rocks very, very far. In his reveal, he is shown swinging a spiked club like a baseball bat, showing off his slugging skills to Elver, the player character in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Soapy, what are your thoughts about this Cody Bellinger being in Assassin's Creed Valhalla?
I mean, that's cool. I really don't have much to say like that, but that's cool.
I think it's fucking dope. I think it's dope. I can't wait to play Valhalla and come across Cody Bellinger in the game. But Soapy, the last shorty but a goodie that I have a mind card for, or a name card for, I should say, is a little bit of Minecraft news. And I wanted to get your thought on this because this is from Polygon. These Minecraft fans have created the world of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Avatar: The Last Airbender and its sequel series, The Legend of Korra, are new on Netflix for everyone to enjoy. But a select group of players have taken the fantasy universe a step further. 150 years into the future, to be exact. These players run a custom Minecraft server called Four Nations Minecraft that replicates the world of Avatar in stunning detail. The server has been running since 2012 with a close-knit community of 20 players creating an Avatar map, which would serve as an arena for role-play players can join one of the four regions, fight in wars between the kingdoms, and make their home in the world. The server slowly grew and recently exploded in popularity after a landscape shot went viral on TikTok. Soapy, what are your thoughts about this? And while you talk, I'm gonna try to pull them up so people can see the screenshots on our stream.
I mean, it's cool. Once again, this isn't like a super unique thing to just Avatar. Like, people have done this before, where for instance, like within the modding community and stuff like that, people have made the entire Star Wars universe.
Mm-hmm.
People have recreated all of Game of Thrones. People have recreated a bunch of like other fantasy stuff. And like, once again, it's cool, especially because the fact of, it's fucking Avatar.
Mm-hmm.
And Avatar is beloved by a lot of people, and seeing people bring it to life is something that is really cool, at least to me. Because obviously, like, I mean, you know me, and like, I think it was yesterday before the show, I was watching someone do like a Minecraft build time lapse. The whole time I'm like, fuck, dude, this makes me feel bad at Minecraft now.
Yeah, and I mean, even looking at it, it's like, this is the shit about, like, I'll admit, I'm not a Minecrafter, but like, this is the shit about Minecraft that blows my mind. Like, the people that can get this creative with it and make their own worlds that are just like, it blows me away. It blows me away what people can do and the creativity that people have. And then Soapy, the last shorty but a goodie, I just saw this on Polygon. I want to get your thoughts on this. So this is an article from Polygon. It says, Pokimane wants Twitch fans to stop giving her so much money. So big donations are a surefire way to grab attention on a Twitch broadcast. But such performative gestures may not always have a streamer feel comfortable, even if they're grateful for it. And so, one of Twitch's most visible streamers has put a stop to giant donations on her stream. Aspiring VTuber, what the fuck's a VTuber? And Twitch juggernaut Pokimane announced on Twitter in early November that from now on, donations on her channel would have a cap. You can no longer donate more than $5 to any. who is asking viewers to instead take that money and give it to other streamers who may need it more than she does. Soapy, what are your thoughts? Like, my two questions. First off, at the very end, it seems like give it to another streamer that might need it. Sounds great in practice, but will a person actually do that? My second thought is, like, for me, I know there was one time when we were streaming, we got it was like a $10 donation. And there's a part of it where it's like, for us, it was like the first one of like, shit, I don't even know what, like, thank you, where it's like, I don't know what to say. 'Cause like, it's basically you're giving us your money. What is your thoughts on the fact of, should streamers have a max limit for people to donate? Like, is it uncomfortable for Twitch streamers in your mind to be given big donations? Or should it be like, well, yeah, you know what? It's nice. I get what you're trying to do, Pokimane. But if someone wants to donate that much money, they should be able to have the right to donate it.
So I'm going to come up with a slightly controversial take of she's doing this for publicity. She's not doing this because she actually wants to.
Could be. You're dead right. Could be.
Because one of the biggest critiques against Pokimane is that it's one of those things of the term simp gets thrown around a lot.
Yes, good point.
Where it's like a lot of people are like, oh, the only reason that she has as many viewers, and everything is because a lot of people simp for Pokimane and they give her a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like, I think this is more of a way to cleanse her public image. Obviously, that's just me being a cynical asshole.
I mean, so here's the thing that I will say is, yet again, the only times I have watched Pokimane, I'm using quotes because I didn't even watch her stream, is on YouTube if I'm watching a 5-up video of him playing Among Us and Pokimane is in the lobby with him. To where it's like, I can see the sense of, like you said, like the simps. People just simp for Pokimane. But like, at the same time, this is something that's not new. Like, this has been going on since Twitch and streaming has been picking up, to where like even Dave and I have had conversations about it, to where it's like the female streamer compared to the male streamer, two different worlds, and I don't want to say expectations, but like experiences between the two. Because I will say, I'm gonna go on the good side, Soapy, because that's where I'd like to think. I can go on Twitch and sometimes not have to worry about getting creeped out, to where it's like, okay, who's going to come into my Twitch stream and fucking be a big enough creep? Whereas if you're on the female side, that might be a worry that you have to worry with. So it's like, I could totally see this as a publicity thing. I totally agree with you. But at the same time, I kind of sit there and I go, why have a max donation? Like, if somebody wants to, there's a side of me that is like, if you're thinking, okay, I want to basically look out for my fan base, and you're like, I really don't need the money. There's a part of me that's like, okay, I guess I can understand it. But there's a part of me that's like, you know what? Like, there shouldn't be a gap. There shouldn't be a bar like that for someone. If someone wants to give that much money, they should be able to, number one. And if you're sitting there going, well, Ricky, what if they don't have the control to not give that money when they really don't have that money? I kind of look at that and I go, I'm going to kind of sound like an ass here, Soapy. It's more of a you problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get why she might be doing it, but I do agree with you. It could be for a PR stunt. But I saw that, wanted to throw that out there because I know how we've had conversations about streamers on the show before. But Soapy, that is going to do it for MVP Games Live. I want to thank everyone for watching. MVP Sports is coming up next. Remember, join that Discord, the best community in the internet, in the world. That is in the description on YouTube or !Discord on Twitch. If you want to support us, patreon.com/MVP vids, or you could throw that donation, throw that sub to us on Twitch as well, where we're live every Monday through Friday, twitch.tv/MVPvids. But we're also on YouTube at MVP Entertainment as well. Like I said, Dave and I coming up next with MVP Sports on Twitch. Soapy and I will be back tomorrow for a Thursday edition of MVP Games Live. Thank you guys for doing everything you do, watching, listening, and as always, have a good day, everybody.
Bye.